Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of F1 2021 Driver Career Mode here on the channel, coming to you today, the penultimate race of the season, where myself, Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo are only separated by 4 points as we head into the Saudi Arabian GP here in Jeddah circuit, a track that I wasn't sure what to expect. The theme of this ending part of the season, this last few races, has been, of course, myself adapting to no racing line, and this was one of the tracks that I circled that I was kind of intimidated by here with no racing line for the first time here at Jeddah. But you know what? I actually adapted, I think, better to Jeddah than I have on any other circuit so far. It seems like every circuit we do, we're getting a little bit better here with adapting from COTA to Mexico to Brazil to now Jeddah here. Of course, it took me a few laps to kind of get up to speed here, but I mean, the main focus is, of course, myself, Lando Norris, Daniel Ricciardo. We got to come out of here today, at least in that 10-point range. If we can be within 10 points of those two drivers going into Abu Dhabi, we have, by all means, a legitimate opportunity to still win our first Formula One World Drivers' Championship in the next episode in Abu Dhabi. But I mean, it's not going to be an easy task, and it starts with getting a good qualifying effort, which we were getting ready for here momentarily. But you can see some of my practice attempts here, and practice overall went really nice and smooth. Actually, here we had some good pace in this McLaren Vodafone, and we were actually at the top of the boards here in practice one, and then I would just sim the other two practices with the little quick practice scenarios and stuff. So we would come through now into the qualifying session here from Jeddah. Should be an easy cruise into Q1 or into Q2, and hopefully a relatively easy cruise into Q3. Of course, McLaren, we've fallen off a little bit, and unfortunately, we're not going to have all the parts adapted that are changing going into the next season. So I'm really curious to see where we stack up going into this next upcoming final season of this F1 career mode, and actually might be an even shorter season next time around than this one, just so we can get that season complete before F1 22. So we might be going with the shortest schedule option there, unfortunately. As you can see, we easily were able to get into Q2 alongside our teammate of Daniel Ricciardo. We come through into the second round of qualifying, and I was struggling right through here. The S's section, I was kind of having a rough time throughout the practice and qualifying, but I was getting better every time I went through. You see I make a mistake there, miss the apex, go a little bit wide. So I mean, I put up a decent time, would be in the top 10, but I would make a second lap just to be safe, because we were only P8. So I make the second lap, find about nearly 0.2 of a second extra, moves us back up to P8, and that's where we would be here, as Ricciardo, though, was up in second. But you see, only about 2.5 of a second, a little bit over, separate myself and Ricciardo. So it's a very close gap here going into Q3, and actually I would get a lap already in Q3, but it was not a good lap. I was dead last year, P10. So we crossed the line to start our second lap here on a brand new set of soft tires. You can see I go way wide there, kind of like Verstappen wide there last year in qualifying, nearly into the barrier, but we were getting through here quite consistently well compared to the first attempt that I had made. You can already see the time going up to about 1/10 of a second better, and it would just get better and better as the lap would go on here. Now you can see we get through that little right-left chicane pretty well. The same thing through the left-right chicane. We gained quite a bit of time there. Actually, into the barrier, I did clip it a little bit, and then I sail it off into this final corner pretty deep. Get a good exit here. Could have been a little bit better, but nonetheless, we're going to gain about 0.4 of a second compared to our first lap. Instead of P10, we're going to qualify P5. Actually, one of our better qualifying efforts on the season, and at a good time. As we start P5, we're going to head straight to the grid here from Jeddah, and hopefully we can put the fight to Norris and Ricciardo there, as you see, in between us. So it's going to be an AlphaTauri. Let's head to the grid.
So here we are then, welcoming you today to one of the jewels of the Arab world, Jeddah. One of the biggest cities in Saudi Arabia, second only to Riyadh, gateway to Mecca, and one of the biggest ports in the region. And now, host to the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. An interesting circuit, this one, the newest on the Formula One calendar. And like most street circuits, it's sure to present the drivers with an interesting technical challenge. Some challenging turns for the drivers to negotiate as well, and at the same time they're going to have to manage their tyres very carefully in this heat. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
But from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the run down into turn one. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course, you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday and will start from pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, the Golden Boy, Lewis Hamilton and Leclerc, Bottas, Tsunoda, Russell and Esteban Ocon, Sainz, Giovinazzi, Pierre Gasly and Vettel, Stroll, Eilert, and Guan Yu Zhou and Christian Lundgaard. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Latifi and Mick Schumacher. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
There you saw the starting grid. You saw Pierre Gasly got a grid penalty, just a one-stop strategy, soft to the medium compound as we would get this formation lap underway. But this is nearly a perfect starting grid other than the fact that Max Verstappen is between myself and Ricciardo to get to Lando Norris. But, I mean, hopefully we can play our cards right, be patient, and then just make it happen here. In perfect case scenario, we go and win this GP and take the Drivers' Championship lead going into the final race of the season in Abu Dhabi. But we have to wait and see what happens. It's going to be 5 red lights. Norris, Verstappen lead the way as this lights out, and we are underway with the final 2 GPs of the season underway here. Not a great start for myself, a lot of wheel spin. We at least remain in 5th place. Ricciardo 3 wide for the lead, but it's not going to quite work out for him there. He's running into the side, I believe, of Max Verstappen. They're still 3 wide, but Ricciardo fades in behind. I'm down to 5th place here behind Lewis Hamilton. As you can see, Norris now and Verstappen side by side. Verstappen has a chance still to win the World Drivers' Championship only if Norris, myself, and Ricciardo literally all DNF, and then Max Verstappen wins this race today, so the odds aren't in his favor, that's for sure. I would actually get past Lewis Hamilton though as we got through this first sector, so we're back up into 4th place here in the opening moments of this GP. So we at least were able to recover what we did lose very, very quickly here compared to other points in the season where sometimes we lose so much ground on the start that it takes us 7, 8, 9 laps sometimes to just recover to where we started originally here, as Hamilton and Bottas just behind myself here. But overall, a very nice and smooth start from myself. A little bit further down the grid, there were some cars that made some contact, actually some cars that had some wing damage. You can see the Williams Porsche cars struggling, and then actually one of the Audis there in the mix with them as well. So Latifi, Stroll, not the start they were looking for. Sorry, Latifi and Lundgaard, as Stroll is on that Haas team here, as we continue to see everybody else scrapping it out here as we head down into this final turn. But I was happy. Overall, a good start here for once, other than the fact that we did lose one spot going down into turn 1, but we gained it back very, very quickly, just being able to catch Lewis Hamilton off guard a little bit when he was vulnerable. So we move up into that 4th spot as we head down into turn 1, and now you can already see Verstappen, Norris, Ricciardo, myself. I could tell what was about to form already. Once the DRS gets enabled, this is going to be a DRS train, at least until the first pit stop cycle starts, and then who knows what's going to happen after that. It could still be a DRS train for the rest of the race, or it could break up and separate and whatnot, but I really didn't know what to expect. But I mean, until then, I knew that we just had to remain in the DRS at the end of the second lap, and we would do that. We would have the DRS, and I knew immediately DRS train time. So Lando Norris is in 2nd place currently, but he is about to be all over the back of his teammate Max Verstappen here and put the fight to him here now in the next few laps of this race. And Norris would get to the gearbox of Verstappen by the time we started lap 4, but he didn't quite have a chance to make a move until lap 5. There you see Norris going for the move for the lead here now as they head down into turn 1. Verstappen is not going to make it easy. Verstappen, although his chances are extremely unlikely to win this World Drivers' Championship, he is not mathematically out, and you can certainly tell that he is aware of that because he's racing Lando hard. I mean, look at them, still wheel to wheel through the S's. That brings myself right back into the mix because you saw I was a little bit disconnected from Ricciardo and Verstappen and Norris, but you can see they would continue to go at it. Norris took the lead, but Verstappen fights back here on the next lap with the DRS again, and Max Verstappen is still going to be wheel to wheel, putting that fight to Lando Norris. I'm loving this because I'm just sitting back waiting for them to run into each other, maybe damage each other's cars, and then myself and Ricciardo just going through and cruise into P1, P2, but surprisingly, they're not running into each other. Verstappen would hold on to the lead, but the fight wasn't over. Now to lap 8, Norris continuing to fight with Verstappen, wheel to wheel there. Look at them going at it here. Now myself and Ricciardo, we were close enough to make moves, we just never attacked on it here. You can see how just wild it was getting for the lead. Verstappen would be back out front, but then Norris is going to fight again to the outside of Verstappen down into turn 1 on lap 9 now, and we were also, by the way, only about a lap or so away from pit stops here now, but this battling would bring Tsunoda and Bottas into the mix, but when we weren't battling, we would just pull away by about a second. But by the time we come through to the end of lap 10, Verstappen comes into the pit lane, I come into the pit lane as well. We're going to put on a fresh set of medium compound tires. It is crucial to have a good pit stop. It's crucial to have a good out lap because we need to make sure we're still within that DRS range here when we get back going, and hopefully we will be. But it was a pretty solid pit stop here from this McLaren team. 2.7 seconds certainly wasn't the greatest in the world. You can see actually some time left on the board. Look at Verstappen go. He's actually checked out pretty quick. So now I realize that's not going to be a good thing for us here. And I actually had a rough out lap, and we come through here into the next lap when Ricciardo and Norris had made their pit stops, and they come out just in front of us. So Verstappen out in front, but you can see the gap between myself and Ricciardo is just over a second. So that was a concern. It would actually increase to about 1.7 seconds, not because I was so down on pace. I was just struggling here. I was struggling with grip, but then Verstappen, Norris, well, they were doing the same thing they were doing before. They were starting to battle, and that would bring me right back into the mix here, and Ricciardo was right there ready to pounce. It was all about patience. I knew, okay, now we got a second opportunity to get back into this GP, so now we just got to be patient though. Wait for an opportunity where Ricciardo or Norris or Verstappen puts them in a vulnerable position because they're battling so hard, to where I can catch them off guard, slip through, gain a position, and just continue to do that, so on and so forth here, as we still had 11 laps to go in this GP here now, and really nothing crazy was happening. Last time we went to Jeddah, we didn't even have a safety car, and I wasn't expecting one here today as we set the fastest lap, but there we go again. Verstappen, Norris, wheel to wheel, now Norris and Ricciardo, wheel to wheel. Norris at risk here, losing second place, but I see the vulnerability right there. I take it 3 wide with our 2 championship contenders. We're still 3 wide into a zone that you don't even want to be too wide into. As Norris backs out, I go wide. I pass Ricciardo off track, so I actually have to give the spot back. I was ordered immediately, give the spot back to Ricciardo, so we settle in, but we both were able to just get Norris, so he goes from going for the lead to 4th place, and now I would put the fight to Ricciardo here. DRS activated. Verstappen long gone because of the scrap that we had with the 3 wide scenario, and we take second place. I overshoot turn 1 sideways. Somehow we managed to stay within the track limits right there and don't pass Ricciardo off track. So I move up into second place. Nicholas Latifi on lap 17 actually had a mechanical failure. He would be out of the race. No safety car necessary here, but you can see Ricciardo, he would put the fight back to us into the final turn with the DRS assisting him there on lap 18. He takes second place back, and I kind of let him have it. I didn't want to fight with Daniel Ricciardo because I knew if I could maybe be behind him with the DRS in the closing laps, maybe on the final lap, then we could be the one that passes him. So I really wasn't planning to make a move on Ricciardo until the final lap, unless Lando Norris puts so much pressure on me where I'm kind of forced to make a move, and you can see the pressure was there. Lando Norris, but all 3 championship contenders, second, third, fourth. Norris made a move there up my inside into the final turn, and I overshot the corner, nearly wrecked the car, but 4 points separate us coming into this race, and here we are all running within a second of each other here as we come through to 2 laps to go already in this GP. Max Verstappen, he was long gone after this battle because he was 3 seconds ahead, and we come through to start this final lap. DRS activated. Ricciardo has no defense mechanisms at all other than the overtake button, and we're gonna breeze past Ricciardo into turn 1. Did I make the move too early? That was the next question. I go wide here in turn 2. Here comes Ricciardo, the Australian, our teammate here, is gonna go back up the right hand side. We're gonna be wheel to wheel here into the S's section, and I'm gonna barely get ahead of him and stay within the track limit, so we're okay for now, but it all comes down to that final DRS zone, and as we were approaching that, I realized immediately I am not anywhere near far enough ahead of Daniel Ricciardo to remain ahead into that final corner with his DRS assistance that he is about to have. All I have on my side is that overtake button, and I was hoping for the best here now, and you can imagine I was going to deploy that ERS to the max here, and here comes Ricciardo. Now I have absolutely nothing against that DRS. Here he goes to the right hand side. We're going to go down into the final turn. Verstappen's going to cruise to the win of the Jeddah GP. Contact with Ricciardo wheel to wheel. He kind of squeezed me. We're going to run out of ERS, coming to the line. Ricciardo's going to take second. Here comes Lando Norris. Is going to be wheel to wheel, a photo finish here at the line, but the game says Lando Norris got 3rd place and we got 4th, and I will have something to show you guys as soon as these podium celebrations are over, because I think we might be deserving of 3rd place.
And that brings the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix to a close then, as we reflect on the team's impressive performance today. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently. It's clear to see that they've put in the work and they should be proud of the victory they secured here.
There you saw the podium celebration, but here's what I wanted to bring up. I went into photo mode post-race. I think we got third place, not Lando Norris. You be the judge. Look at this right here. I mean, even as our front wheels are crossing the line, my front wheel is still just barely ahead of Lando's, and you can see the front wing as well is ahead. I think I finished third place, and we might have been just robbed of a crucial extra couple of points going into this championship race in Abu Dhabi. I think the stewards got it wrong. I genuinely think we are third place. Lando Norris should be fourth place, not the other way around. But we were scored as fourth, and the gap is 2/1000ths of a second in favor of Lando Norris. But I genuinely think the game got it wrong. Let me know what you guys think. But look at the points. Norris has a 1-point lead over Ricciardo, 5 points over myself. It is a 5-point battle between the three of us going into this final GP of the season. I honestly, at the midpoint of the season, never thought we would be in this position. We were comfortable 39 points ahead in the constructors, so McLaren, we should be able to win that, but it is going to go down to the wire in this final GP of the season after a photo finish, a wild finish here in Jeddah. What a season it has been. I think this is going to be the first time a championship is settled in the final race for the driver's side of things, so I'm excited for that, and, well, we're going to be a part of it, and 5 points is all that separates Norris, Ricciardo, and myself. I never thought we would get an opportunity to settle out a championship between 3 drivers like that here in this career mode, but I mean, I'll see you guys in the next episode in Abu Dhabi. I'm excited for it. Let's hope we come out of there with a World Drivers' Championship. Thank you for watching, and have yourselves a great day.